Doug Fitch, who is the CEO of AgWorld, based in Western Australia. Doug is the co-founder of AgWorld, which is a global company, which is the provider of the only collaborative farming solution across the agricultural value chain. He is the CEO, and they began their operations in December 2009. Doug holds a Diploma of Business in Leadership, a Bachelor's degree of Business Administration, and coaches in the field of leadership. He owns his own farming property and remains passionate about the agricultural industry, and he has a strong desire to continue to positively to the challenges that farmers and their families face in the space of information management, decision making and community. So could you please welcome Doug?
Thank you. Well, today I'm giving a little bit of a quick talk, and I think so far I'd just like to congratulate all the other speakers. They have been fantastic and very inspiring. I'm talking today about the challenges and value of connectivity. It's probably one of the more boring subjects, but it is an issue in the industry. I thought I'd take you just on a bit of a journey first about where we first started off, because I think if you understand where the genesis of AgWorld, you'll understand where I'm going with this. This is not a picture of me in the middle, but it is a picture of our family farm and the lack of connectivity, as described just a moment ago, between applications. Basically, for us and for our farm, we needed to see all our data in one place, so that we could make informed decisions. So data latency is a real issue for farmers. Growing crops is a very emotional thing, and often a lot of decisions are made on subjectivity rather than objectivity. And there's a bit of gut feel and but if you're only making 5% on operation cost for return, it's a tough gig in Australia. So we set out to solve that problem, and it seemed pretty simple at the time. I guess when we thought about it, we thought about that there was a lot of people, once we did the analysis, who had a piece of information that I needed for my farm or for any farm. And so we created the AgWorld platform, and it's all about connecting the industry, and that's been our logo since we kicked off in 2009. And it's all about the service providers. Every service provider, as we go through this presentation, you'll see has something that is useful in AgWorld to them. And that's a really important point, because if you want to get adoption, people will only do something if there's a vested interest for them. So it's quite a balance. Here's a little picture of kind of where we started in terms of the collaboration side. Collaboration's a really important piece. This is of the agronomic and crop production community, inclusive of the financial component. So we have production planning tools and finance, but these people here, and I love that photo that you had up of that dude, with his hat, I think that's awesome, because some of these people are like that. They are not that keen to get out their phone. If you can't convince a crop scout who works part-time as a student to scout cotton properly and to record it and get that data back to you, you got no show. It's a gap. So it's all about, these are not all necessarily layers of like yield maps or something. These are pieces of information. So we're just trying to represent, these are all important people. And adding to that, if you're on the previous page, is the accountants and the banks and the insurers that connect in, and they're all part of our farming business, and they're very important to the information you need when it comes to managing risk and reward. Because as a farmer, that's what you're doing. You're taking a big risk and you're hoping to get a big reward, and sometimes that doesn't turn up. So we needed a problem to solve. So the first thing we did, this is all pre-iPad, 2008 we started with this. Data capture, that's the problem, for sure. So we needed something that was really useful and was actually part of a problem that we knew was the issue in ag at the time, capturing data, and then we discovered there's a whole lot more. But we actually started with a digital pen because everyone was using a pen, and we just heard pen and paper are probably our biggest competitor, right? Then followed by Excel. So we started with a digital pen. People did their handwriting on this special form. It turned it into a packet file, sent it via the Nokia phone, well before the iPhones. And then it went to the computer. And the great news is they just had to go in and check on the web at night, is the handwriting recognition right? Of course, everybody's handwriting's different, but everybody also writes ryegrass or annual ryegrass or two-spotted mite or just spotted mite, and you've got to map all that data. So, problem. That's what we had to solve. And of course, we only solved 2 out of 4. We thought we had it down pat. But if you ask somebody to do something extra during the day, like my staff, there's probably going to be a delay if they're under pressure. And that's farming. Quite often it's all seasonal windows and people are under pressure. So, enter the iPad in 2010. My partner goes down the store, he rings me, he says, oh, I've got this great thing called an iPad. I said, what the hell's that? Anyway, it turns out it was a good thing. Only that, when we got it back, we realised you couldn't use it offline. So we had to solve that problem, another problem. That's ag. But the good news is we're able to solve a problem that actually farmers wanted. We were capturing the data and we were putting it on spatially and starting to show the information spatially, and every farmer loves a picture of his paddock and a colour for a crop. So then you start putting the actual information around that and being able to report on it. It had to be easy to use, online, offline, it had to be reliable, and it had to be integrated into the workflow of any user. And most importantly, you don't want the keyboard to pop up, because as soon as you ask somebody to type something, it slows them down. What are they doing? Driving around in the Hilux, bouncing around. So we had to make it so you could use it with your thumbs and select from lists, and started standardising the data. Those 4 things there are the key things for us as a platform, as you'll see why. Because the very next thing people started to ask us for was this. Oh, can we connect all this in? Oh, sure, that won't take long. Every one of these people, if we go up to the top box on the left, you've got John Deere. At that time, John Deere had a fairly closed system, and they weren't really interested in standardising, because you buy their tractor, you get their controller. And so other inventions like the pucks that you could plug in, the isobar things, and actually take data and yield it off the monitors to go around what John Deere were doing, were invented, and now John Deere have opened up. We've also got one of the more recent things, so we're working with CommBank, which is fantastic, with Figured and Xero as an example, and that's one of our systems where a farmer can do his production plan, take it through to asset management in terms of grain and livestock, and it can actually produce a cash flow and all their costs in terms of cost accounting, and be analysed by the bank. So we're starting, when we started back in 2010, by standardising the data and being disciplined at it, we've been able to move through this. Now these are just roughly 20 different businesses. Some are ERP systems, some are soil labs, but there's a plethora of others, and they're all important pieces to a farmer's business, and it's all important for connectivity purposes. So when we think about a platform, which AgWorld is, we think about always building on a solid foundation. What's interesting in here is that collaboration is an enabler of people being able to put pieces of information into one location against one farm. So there's not multiple farms of the same name in AgWorld. We've had to do the governance on that, and people are able to share using a permission system on the information that they wish to share with each other to complete the picture for crop production. The connectivity is enabling all the other pieces of information to come in. So we heard about today about probes and weather stations and all those types of things. They're super important stuff. And they're the things that will automate and scale farms, which is what we're in the business of doing. And then you have the data side of it. Reference data and farm data, where it's structured, where users can't type it into your system, is a very, very important thing. And the hardest bit about it is all the thinking. So an example, agronomist says to me, Doug, we need oat and hay in there. That's a crop. Is that a crop? No, it's not a crop. Oat is the crop, hay is the use, right? You think that's obvious, but it's not obvious to everybody. They're all different things, and there's a whole stack. Another guy rang me, Doug, metsulfuron, and it's not in there. I said, yes, it is. Told me how he's spelling it. I said, you've been spelling it wrong. He goes, I've been spelling it wrong for 20 years. I mean, these are the things you deal with. So the thinking behind it and the education behind standardising data in order to get that is key. And until you actually get the user experience right, that's where it starts, as it was said earlier, and you actually manage the data side, you don't get the big data that everybody's after, right? They've got to be engaged. First, the adoption, then the engagement. And none of this comes cheap. So yeah, I think just in conclusion, connectivity does not automatically mean value delivered to the farmer or to any of the users. It's just connectivity. What matters is how is that data going to be delivered and how is it going to be analysed? How is it going to be used? Is it surfaced in the workflow of the user? Structured reference data is an enabler of the connectivity. Without that, if you take one of those circles away, it doesn't work. You can have collaboration and data, but you can't have connectivity. You've got to have the three circles. The discipline and investment to maintain data is not cheap. We employ data scientists and people to manage and clean the system constantly to make sure that all the data is unique and standardised and able to run the reports. And data yielded from collaboration connectivity is, in a structured way, really must inform and impact decisions relating to the risk and reward. There's a whole lot of the best of ag is to come. AgWorld is one of the biggest platforms around and has the most users. We have 50,000 farms in AgWorld. We have 19,000 users in Australia of farmers connected into the platform. We have over 50,000 users in the world. We're in 15 different countries and we're struggling still, right? Because ag is challenging. But what's great is all the stuff we heard today. It's awesome. So if you want to know more, get into thefarmingteam.com.au. You'll see an example of Figured and CommBank and ourselves and Xero putting data together. We welcome partnerships, strategic partnerships with any other businesses that help farmers and keep them central to ag, because the food production is definitely needed. Thank you.